Lucy,
Everything you call reality is just a reflection of perception.
what happens when the universe looks back at itself?
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Lucy, released in 2014, is a science fiction action film that stretches the boundaries of imagination while exploring profound questions about human potential and consciousness. Written and directed by Luc Besson and produced by EuropaCorp, Lucy is an English-language movie, though it is fundamentally a European production. Its production was a global undertaking, involving filming across Taipei, Paris, and New York City, and it combined a cosmopolitan aesthetic with high-concept science fiction. The film stars Scarlett Johansson in the title role of Lucy, with Morgan Freeman portraying Professor Norman, a neuroscientist whose research becomes central to understanding Lucy's extraordinary evolution. Other prominent cast members include Choi Min-sik as the formidable crime lord Mr. Jang, Amr Waked, Pilouis Baek, and Annalai Tipton. The music was composed by Eric Serra, whose score underscores both the urgency of the action sequences and the ethereal quality of Lucy's transformations, while Thierry Arbogast's cinematography captures both the gritty streetscapes of Taipei and the pristine laboratories of Paris. Editing by Julian Ray ensures that the film moves at a kinetic pace, interspersed with sequences that blend metaphysical speculation with visually stunning action. At the heart of Lucy lies the idea, popularized in myths and fiction, that humans utilize only a small fraction of their brain's capacity. Though modern neuroscience has repeatedly debunked the notion that humans only use 10% of their brains, Luc Besson embraced this concept as a narrative device. By imagining what would happen if a person could unlock the majority of their cognitive potential, the film explores not only superhuman abilities but also philosophical and ethical questions about intelligence, evolution, and the essence of human consciousness. The premise is audacious. A young woman thrust into extraordinary circumstances becomes the vessel for a radical transformation that challenges the boundaries between human and superhuman existence. The story begins with Lucy as a seemingly ordinary American student living in Taipei. She is young, carefree, and largely disconnected from the deeper currents of purpose in life. Her boyfriend, Richard, introduces her to a dark and dangerous underworld when he coerces her into delivering a mysterious briefcase to Mr. Jang, a powerful South Korean crime lord. Despite her suspicions and growing apprehension, Lucy complies with the request, only to find herself caught in a violent and life-threatening situation. The criminals, seeing Lucy as the perfect carrier, have sewn a package of a synthetic and highly potent drug called CPH4 into her abdomen, expecting her to transport it undetected. In a sudden confrontation, the bag ruptures, releasing the drug into her system and triggering a rapid, transformative evolution. The synthetic compound dramatically enhances her cognitive functions, giving her abilities that far exceed those of ordinary humans. As CPH4 courses through her system, Lucy begins to exhibit telepathy, telekinesis, heightened reflexes, accelerated learning, and an uncanny mastery of physical and mental tasks. Her emotional responses diminish as her cognitive abilities grow, and she becomes increasingly detached, calm, and analytical. Realizing the scope of her transformation, she seeks out Professor Norman, whose research on the human brain and cognition may provide insight into her condition. Traveling to Paris, she engages with him to understand not only the mechanics of her newfound abilities but also the broader implications of what it means to evolve beyond human limitations. During this journey, Lucy also confronts the remnants of the criminal operation, seeking both the remaining drug packets and the opportunity to assert control over her own destiny. As the film progresses, Lucy's physical form begins to deteriorate even as her mind expands. Her cells mutate and degrade in a symbolic reflection of her transcending human state. In the climactic sequences, she injects herself with the remaining CPH4, culminating in a transformation that dissolves her physical body into a dark, almost fluid substance that integrates with electronic devices and laboratory equipment. This visually stunning sequence represents Lucy's transition from a physical being to a higher form of consciousness, one that exists outside the conventional constraints of space and time. Her consciousness begins to experience visions of human evolution, the emergence of early hominids, and the origin of the universe itself. Through these sequences, Besson links Lucy's personal evolution to the broader story of life and existence, reinforcing the film's thematic ambition to explore the intersection of human potential, knowledge, and the cosmos. The film's production and technical design reinforce its conceptual themes. Lucy was created on a relatively modest budget of approximately $40 million, yet its scope is expansive, with global filming locations and sequences that seamlessly blend action with speculative science. The cinematography by Thierry Arbogast alternates between gritty realism and surreal abstraction, while Eric Serra's score provides a musical narrative that guides the audience through both the kinetic action and the ethereal climax. Besson's directorial approach deliberately combines linear and nonlinear storytelling, sequences depicting cellular division, prehistoric ancestors, and cosmic events are interwoven with the more conventional action narrative to create a layered, multidimensional viewing experience. This approach reflects Besson's intent to challenge the audience, preparing them to accept the extraordinary events that define the film's conclusion. Lucy's journey reaches its zenith as she achieves near-complete mastery over her cognitive faculties. She transcends time and space, and her consciousness becomes effectively omnipresent. In the denouement, Professor Norman and other characters are left with a black USB flash drive, symbolizing Lucy's digital legacy. From this device emanates a final message: life was given to us 1 billion years ago. You know what to do. The ambiguous phrasing of this message invites reflection on the ethical and philosophical responsibilities associated with knowledge and power, leaving viewers to contemplate the implications of human evolution, the limits of consciousness, and the transformative potential of intelligence. Lucy 2 has long been the subject of intrigue and speculation among movie fans around the world. Following the surprising success of the original Lucy film in 2014, written and directed by Luc Besson and produced by EuropaCorp, audiences naturally began to wonder if there would be a sequel that could further explore the remarkable concept of a human accessing the full potential of their brain. The original film starred Scarlett Johansson as Lucy, a woman who, after being exposed to a synthetic drug, gains extraordinary cognitive abilities, including telekinesis, enhanced perception, accelerated learning, and ultimately, godlike control over her own matter and the world around her. The movie, while controversial in its scientific accuracy, captivated audiences with its blend of high-octane action, philosophical undertones, and a unique visual style that became Luc Besson's signature. It grossed around $463 million worldwide on a modest $40 million budget, making it one of the most commercially successful science fiction action films of that period. Its success inevitably led to widespread discussions in the media about the potential for a sequel, although these discussions were often shrouded in ambiguity, rumors, and conflicting statements from various parties involved. Rumors about Lucy 2 began to surface shortly after the release of the original movie. Several entertainment news outlets reported that Luc Besson was considering a follow-up film and that he might have even penned a script. Outlets such as Moviefone and Superhero Hype indicated that Besson had actively written a draft for a sequel, though no production timeline or studio commitment had been confirmed at the time. Geek Tyrant similarly claimed that a script existed and that the sequel was in development, fueling speculation among fans. Despite these reports, Luc Besson himself publicly denied any active involvement in a Lucy sequel. In statements on social media and interviews, he clarified that he had no plans to create Lucy 2, stating, "No, I do not prepare Lucy 2. Neither yesterday nor tomorrow." He criticized the media for propagating what he referred to as false information, which led to confusion and further fueled speculation online. The contradictory nature of the information, rumors of scripts and studio interest versus the director's outright denial, left the status of Lucy 2 in a state of ambiguity for several years. EuropaCorp, the production company behind the original Lucy, added another layer to this complicated narrative. Some interviews with studio executives hinted that a sequel might be under consideration, suggesting that Luc Besson had written material for a continuation of the story and that the company was exploring the possibility of producing it. However, these statements stopped short of confirming an actual production, shooting schedule, or casting plan. In practical terms, while early development discussions or scriptwriting might have occurred, there is no evidence that Lucy 2 moved into pre-production, let alone principal photography. No verified trade publications, including Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or Deadline, have reported that the movie is officially in production or nearing release, which strongly suggests that any tangible steps toward creating Lucy 2 have been minimal or purely conceptual. As for the cast, speculation naturally centers around the potential return of Scarlett Johansson in the titular role. Given the unique trajectory of Lucy in the first film, where her abilities ultimately transcend human limitations, any sequel would face the narrative challenge of plausibly continuing her story. Some conceptual ideas circulating among fans propose exploring the consequences of Lucy's evolution on society, the universe, or even alternate dimensions, although these remain purely speculative. Other rumored cast members occasionally mentioned in online forums include Morgan Freeman, who played Professor Norman in the original movie, guiding Lucy's understanding of her newfound capabilities. However, none of these cast rumors are officially confirmed, and it is unclear whether actors associated with the original film have signed on or expressed interest in reprising their roles. Plot speculation for Lucy 2 has varied widely. Some fan theories imagine a scenario in which Lucy, now having reached a near-omnipotent state, interacts with humanity in unprecedented ways, potentially influencing global events or exploring philosophical questions about existence and consciousness. Other speculative narratives suggest a time travel element or alternate realities, where Lucy must confront consequences of her actions or interact with different versions of herself. Despite the creativity of these theories, it is important to emphasize that there is no verified storyline for Lucy 2, and any descriptions of a potential plot are based entirely on imagination and fan-generated concepts rather than official scripts or production notes. Regarding the release date and promotional material, there are no official announcements. The so-called trailers for Lucy 2 that appear on various platforms are typically labeled as concept trailers or fan-made, meaning they do not reflect actual footage from an officially produced movie. These concept trailers, while visually appealing and often featuring digitally inserted actors such as Scarlett Johansson, are speculative creations intended to visualize what a sequel could look like. Consequently, there is no confirmed theatrical release date, streaming plan, or marketing campaign associated with Lucy 2. Any claim of a 2025 or 2026 release is purely speculative or fan-generated, and should not be treated as reliable information. Despite the uncertainty surrounding Lucy 2, the enduring fascination with the concept reflects the impact of the original movie. Lucy's unique premise, combining science fiction ideas with high-concept action and philosophical inquiry, left a lasting impression on audiences. The possibility of exploring further the idea of a human transcending cognitive and physical limits remains compelling, which is why rumors and fan content continue to circulate. Even without an officially confirmed sequel, the legacy of Lucy has influenced other media, inspired discussions about human potential, and encouraged creative speculation about what might happen if a story like Lucy were continued. In conclusion, Lucy 2 exists, for now, only in a space between rumor, speculation, and fan imagination. While there were reports suggesting a script was written and that EuropaCorp had shown interest in producing a sequel, Luc Besson's own statements directly contradict claims of an ongoing project. There is no confirmed release date, no officially confirmed cast beyond the original film, and no verified plot or trailer. The various Lucy 2 concept trailers and online content are creative explorations rather than official production materials. Until an authoritative announcement is made by Luc Besson or EuropaCorp, Lucy 2 remains a highly anticipated but unconfirmed sequel. The intrigue surrounding it underscores the original film's cultural impact and the audience's fascination with the idea of pushing human potential beyond its known limits, ensuring that discussions, fan theories, and creative speculation about Lucy 2 will likely continue for years to come. The concept of Lucy 2 has fascinated fans ever since the release of the original 2014 film, Lucy, directed by Luc Besson and starring Scarlett Johansson. The original film captured audiences with its combination of high-octane action, science fiction, and philosophical exploration of human potential. In the first film, Lucy, an ordinary woman, accidentally becomes the carrier of CPH4, a synthetic drug that allows her to gradually access the full capacity of her brain. Over the course of the film, she transforms from a normal human being into an almost omnipotent entity capable of manipulating matter, energy, time, and even the very fabric of existence. The original narrative concluded on a cosmic and abstract note, leaving the audience with a sense of wonder and an open-ended question about what comes after a human transcends physical limitations. This ending, simultaneously thrilling and enigmatic, sparked immense curiosity and speculation among fans, leading to a widespread desire for a sequel. Despite the demand, an official sequel to Lucy has never been produced. While rumors of Lucy 2 emerged shortly after the success of the original movie, director Luc Besson consistently denied that a sequel was underway. In interviews and media statements, he emphasized that while he had explored ideas for a follow-up story, nothing had been officially greenlit or entered production. These denials have not, however, quelled the fan-driven imagination that continues to produce elaborate narratives and speculative trailers for what a sequel might entail. Among these creations, viral fan-made trailers have emerged, particularly on platforms like YouTube, featuring Scarlett Johansson reprising her iconic role alongside other familiar characters and introducing entirely new antagonists and plotlines. These fan trailers, often highly polished with professional-quality CGI and editing, have contributed significantly to the misconception that an official sequel is imminent. In the fan-generated narrative, Lucy 2 picks up where the original film left off, with Lucy having evolved into a non-physical, energy-based entity. Unlike the first film, where her physical body still existed and interacted with the world, the sequel concept imagines Lucy operating beyond corporeal limitations. She is capable of manipulating the environment around her, bending time and space, and interacting with humanity on a purely intellectual or energetic plane. The narrative tension in these speculative stories often arises from the introduction of a new antagonist, a scientist named Dr. Elias Kane, who attempts to recreate or weaponize CPH-4 to produce a being of equal or greater power. This new project, sometimes referred to as Project Apex, represents a direct threat to both humanity and Lucy herself, creating a narrative framework in which the protagonist must navigate the consequences of her own evolution in a world that remains bound by human limitations. In these fan-conceived scenarios, the story explores themes of ethics, power, and the consequences of transcending human capability. Lucy's interactions with Project Apex and the rogue artificial intelligence, often named Athena in these concepts, highlight the tension between natural evolution and technological or artificial attempts to achieve similar levels of power. The climax of the fan-made plot typically involves Lucy temporarily reconstituting a synthetic or corporeal body to confront Athena and Project Apex. In these moments, she demonstrates her superior intelligence and control over matter, yet also faces the moral implications of her actions. Ultimately, many of these narratives depict Lucy sacrificing her temporary physical form to preserve human autonomy, freeing humanity from the potential tyranny of superintelligent beings. This resolution echoes the philosophical undertones of the original film, emphasizing themes of transcendence, the nature of consciousness, and the limits of human understanding. The imagined cast for Lucy 2 in these concept trailers generally draws from both returning characters and new figures. Scarlett Johansson is always portrayed as Lucy, continuing her journey as the central figure of the story. Morgan Freeman, who played Professor Norman in the original film, is often speculated to return in fan narratives or potential spin-offs, providing guidance and a moral anchor in the storyline. New characters, such as Dr. Elias Kane, the ambitious scientist attempting to recreate Lucy's power, and Athena, the rogue AI antagonist, serve to introduce new conflicts and explore the ethical dimensions of scientific experimentation and artificial intelligence. While these characters enrich the narrative in the fan-created universe, it is critical to understand that none of these casting choices or plotlines have been officially confirmed by any production studio. Another key aspect of Lucy 2's mythology in fan culture involves its visual and thematic style. Concept trailers often borrow the sleek, stylized aesthetic of the original film, combining rapid editing, dramatic action sequences, and CGI-enhanced depictions of Lucy's powers. These sequences portray Lucy interacting with physical and digital realities in ways that challenge the viewer's perception of space, time, and matter. Fans have meticulously crafted these visuals to mimic the cinematic language of Luc Besson, creating an immersive experience that feels consistent with the original while pushing the boundaries of imagination. The success of these trailers demonstrates not only the power of fan creativity but also the enduring cultural fascination with the possibilities explored in the first film. The casting of Lucy was critical to the film's success, as the story demanded a lead capable of conveying both intense physicality and nuanced psychological evolution. Scarlett Johansson, already widely recognized for her performances in both independent films and blockbuster franchises, was chosen for the role. Johansson brought to Lucy a combination of vulnerability, intelligence, and strength that anchored the film's more fantastical elements. Her portrayal conveys the gradual but profound transformation from an ordinary young woman into a being of almost infinite cognitive power. Johansson's performance was widely praised for balancing the character's emotional detachment with the underlying humanity that remains, even as Lucy surpasses the limits of ordinary human experience. In addition to Johansson, the film features Morgan Freeman as Professor Norman, a neuroscientist whose calm, deliberate manner contrasts sharply with Lucy's accelerating evolution. Freeman's presence provides intellectual weight to the narrative, grounding the story in discussions of neuroscience, ethics, and the philosophical implications of cognitive enhancement. The supporting cast also plays a crucial role in shaping the narrative. Choi Min-sik's portrayal of Mr. Jang, the powerful and ruthless crime lord, embodies the human obstacles Lucy must overcome. His commanding presence adds tension and a sense of danger that underlines the high stakes of Lucy's transformation. Amr Wake's character, Pierre Del Rio, adds complexity to the criminal network that Lucy must navigate, providing both conflict and insight into the broader world of organized crime that the story initially inhabits. Hilous Bake and Julian Reintut contribute further layers, as their characters intersect with Lucy's journey in ways that emphasize both the immediate physical danger and the philosophical exploration of human potential. Annalai Tipton's role, though smaller, reinforces Lucy's connections to ordinary human life, grounding the narrative even as the plot ventures into increasingly speculative territory. From a production standpoint, Lucy exemplifies Luc Besson's distinctive approach to filmmaking, which blends high-concept ideas with commercial appeal. The film's budget of approximately $40 million reflects a carefully managed production that balances practical effects with computer-generated imagery to achieve sequences that are both visually spectacular and narratively cohesive. Filming locations were chosen to emphasize the international scope of the story. Taipei provides a bustling, contemporary urban setting that situates Lucy's initial vulnerability and ordinary life. Paris serves as both a center for scientific inquiry and a symbolic stage for her intellectual and philosophical evolution. New York City offers additional urban landscapes that reinforce the global scale of the narrative. Besson's choice of locations, combined with Thierry Arbogast's cinematography, creates a visual style that alternates between stark realism and surreal abstraction, mirroring Lucy's journey from human ordinariness to transcendent consciousness. Eric Serra's musical score contributes significantly to the film's tone, shifting seamlessly from tense action sequences to contemplative, almost mystical moments. The music complements the narrative arc, underscoring Lucy's increasing cognitive power and the gradual dissolution of her physical form. Editing by Julian Ray is integral to the storytelling, allowing complex sequences involving rapid time shifts, microscopic biological imagery, and cosmic phenomena to coexist with traditional narrative pacing. This blending of conventional and unconventional cinematic techniques reinforces the film's central themes, encouraging the audience to consider both the immediate action and the broader philosophical questions posed by Lucy's transformation. Upon its release, Lucy achieved remarkable commercial success. The film premiered on July 25, 2014, and quickly demonstrated its global appeal. It earned approximately $126 million in North America, with international markets contributing an additional $343 million, bringing the worldwide total to roughly $469 million. This performance not only significantly exceeded the production budget but also reinforced EuropaCorp's reputation for producing high-concept, commercially viable films. The financial success of Lucy demonstrates the strong market demand for science fiction narratives that combine spectacle with intellectual engagement, indicating that audiences are receptive to films that challenge conventional storytelling while delivering high-energy action sequences. Critical reception, however, was more nuanced. While audiences widely praised Scarlett Johansson's performance and the film's visual style, some critics questioned the scientific and philosophical premises. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds a moderate score, reflecting mixed critical opinions. Some reviewers appreciated the ambitious blending of action and speculative science, while others criticized the reliance on the 10% brain usage myth and the increasingly abstract final sequences. Similarly, on Metacritic, the film received generally favorable reviews, though commentary frequently noted the tension between the narrative's intellectual aspirations and its reliance on sensationalized action. Despite these critiques, Lucy's ability to provoke discussion about human potential, consciousness, and the limits of science and philosophy contributed to its lasting cultural impact. Lucy also sparked broader conversations in popular culture and academia. While scientists pointed out the inaccuracy of the 10% brain myth, the film encouraged curiosity about neuroscience, cognitive potential, and the ethical implications of enhanced intelligence. Its visual representation of brain activity, time manipulation, and evolutionary imagery made it a reference point in discussions of speculative fiction, particularly in contexts where scientific concepts are reimagined for narrative purposes. Besson's integration of these ideas into a mainstream action film represents a rare convergence of intellectual speculation and commercial cinema, a combination that distinguishes Lucy from more conventional genre films. The film's thematic concerns extend beyond science fiction into ethical and philosophical territory. Lucy's progression raises questions about the consequences of immense cognitive power, the limits of human morality, and the responsibilities that accompany knowledge. As her abilities grow, she becomes increasingly detached from ordinary human concerns, reflecting the potential alienation that might accompany extraordinary intelligence. Yet her final act, depositing her consciousness in a digital medium and leaving an ambiguous message to humanity, emphasizes both hope and uncertainty. It invites reflection on how humans might respond to unprecedented access to knowledge and power, and whether such a transformation would be ultimately beneficial or destabilizing. Regarding the possibility of a sequel, often referred to in popular discourse as Lucy 2, the situation is complex. Following the success of Lucy, rumors emerged that EuropaCorp was considering a sequel, with some reports suggesting that a script had already been written. However, Luc Besson has publicly denied involvement in any sequel project, stating explicitly that he is not working on Lucy 2 and that reports of such a film are fake news. The narrative of Lucy, which concludes with her transcendence into a higher form of consciousness, presents substantial challenges for a conventional sequel, as the story's conclusion does not naturally lend itself to further direct narrative development. Nevertheless, there has been speculation about potential spin-off projects, including a television series that might explore the consequences of Lucy's digital legacy or feature returning characters such as Professor Norman. These developments suggest that while a direct film sequel may not be forthcoming, the narrative universe of Lucy retains creative potential for exploration in other media formats. Lucy 2 has fascinated fans and movie enthusiasts since the release of the original film in 2014. Luc Besson's innovative science fiction action movie, starring Scarlett Johansson as the extraordinary Lucy, combined high-octane action with philosophical concepts about the human brain's potential. The story of Lucy, who gains near-omnipotent cognitive abilities after exposure to a synthetic drug, captivated audiences around the world. The original film's mix of visually striking action sequences, intellectual speculation, and a distinctive directorial style made it a commercial and cultural success. Produced by EuropaCorp, Lucy grossed around $463 million worldwide on a $40 million budget, solidifying its place in modern sci-fi cinema. Naturally, such a groundbreaking premise spurred interest in a sequel, and discussions about Lucy 2 began almost immediately. However, the journey from speculation to reality has been complicated, with conflicting reports, denials, and a proliferation of fan-made content, leaving the status of a sequel uncertain. Reports of a potential Lucy sequel started surfacing shortly after the first film's success. Entertainment outlets including Moviefone, Superhero Hype, and Geek Tyrant suggested that Luc Besson had written a script for Lucy 2 and that a sequel might be in development. These reports often indicated that the studio, EuropaCorp, had expressed interest in producing the sequel, although no concrete production timeline or confirmed shooting schedule was ever announced. Despite these rumors, Besson himself publicly refuted claims of a sequel, stating on social media and in interviews that he had no plans to create Lucy 2 and criticizing the media for spreading misinformation. This created a paradoxical situation where both the possibility and the improbability of a sequel existed simultaneously, fueling discussion and speculation among fans. While no official production has been confirmed, fan engagement with the idea of Lucy 2 has been substantial. Fans have imagined a variety of narrative directions for the sequel, often focusing on how Lucy's godlike abilities could affect the world. One popular theory suggests that Lucy, having transcended her human form, might explore alternate dimensions or parallel universes, confronting versions of herself or entities with similar powers. Another theory posits that Lucy could return to Earth in a form capable of influencing global events on a massive scale, subtly guiding humanity toward a new era of cognitive evolution. These speculative plots explore philosophical and existential themes, much like the original film did, pushing the boundaries of science fiction to explore what it means to be human in the face of unlimited potential. In terms of casting, speculation centers on Scarlett Johansson reprising her role as Lucy, though the logistics of continuing her character's journey are complex. In the original film, Lucy reaches a stage where she transcends human limitations and effectively becomes a non-corporeal entity, raising the narrative challenge of how to depict her in a sequel. Hypothetically, if Lucy 2 were to materialize, the film might use creative visual effects, digital reconstruction, or narrative devices such as flashbacks or parallel timelines to retain Johansson in the story. Other returning characters, like Morgan Freeman's Professor Norman, could serve as intellectual anchors, helping to interpret the consequences of Lucy's unprecedented abilities. Some fan theories even speculate on introducing entirely new characters, perhaps other humans who gain extraordinary cognitive abilities, creating tension, conflict, or philosophical contrast with Lucy. These potential new cast members remain purely speculative, but they illustrate the narrative possibilities for a sequel. Plot speculation for Lucy 2 is diverse and imaginative. One widely discussed idea revolves around Lucy's relationship with the concept of time. In the first film, she experiences life and reality at an accelerated pace, effectively observing the universe from a near-omniscient perspective. A sequel could explore the implications of this ability more deeply, perhaps depicting Lucy interacting with historical events, witnessing alternate futures, or even attempting to influence the development of human civilization. Another fan-conceived plotline suggests the introduction of antagonistic forces, either other enhanced humans, artificial intelligence, or mysterious entities that challenge Lucy's control and understanding of existence. These narrative possibilities create a high-stakes framework for Lucy 2, offering both action-driven sequences and philosophical inquiry, which would align with the themes of the original film. The speculative expansion of Lucy's universe also raises interesting questions about the science and philosophy behind her abilities. Fans have debated how the sequel might explore the limits of human cognition, memory, and perception. Could Lucy achieve a form of omniscience, or would the sequel introduce limitations to maintain dramatic tension? Would she engage with human society in subtle ways, or would her interactions be on a cosmic or universal scale? These questions demonstrate the rich narrative potential for a sequel, even if none of these ideas have been officially sanctioned by Luc Besson or EuropaCorp. Fan theories often incorporate philosophical discussions about existence, consciousness, and morality, imagining Lucy as a bridge between human experience and higher forms of intelligence. These ideas, while speculative, reflect the enduring fascination with the character and the world created in the original movie. Regarding visual style and action sequences, speculation suggests that Lucy 2 could continue Besson's signature approach to cinematic aesthetics, rapid cuts, highly stylized action, and visual representations of cognitive processes. Fans have imagined sequences where Lucy manipulates matter or energy on a planetary or even cosmic scale, bending reality as an extension of her enhanced perception. Conceptual trailers circulating online illustrate these possibilities, though they remain unofficial and should not be considered actual production materials. Digital effects could be used to portray Lucy's evolution beyond human form, creating visually spectacular sequences that would differentiate Lucy 2 from standard science fiction action films. Additionally, fan speculation suggests potential crossovers with other Besson projects or similar high-concept sci-fi narratives, though these remain purely imaginative. The issue of a release date and trailer further complicates the picture. To date, no official announcements regarding Lucy 2's production timeline, release strategy, or marketing plan exist. Concept trailers circulating online, often labeled as fan-made or concept, depict visual interpretations of what a sequel could look like, featuring digitally enhanced images of Scarlett Johansson and other rumored characters. Some claim that a 2025 or 2026 release is possible, but these dates are speculative and have no basis in verified studio planning. Until an authoritative statement from Besson or EuropaCorp emerges, any discussion of a release date should be regarded as hypothetical. Nonetheless, the existence of these concept trailers and fan-generated materials demonstrates the ongoing enthusiasm and creative engagement of the film's audience, keeping the idea of Lucy 2 alive in public imagination. Fan-created ideas also extend to hypothetical story arcs and subplots. One popular concept imagines Lucy confronting moral dilemmas as she navigates her near-omnipotent existence. Would she intervene in conflicts around the world, or maintain a distant, observational role? Could the sequel introduce other individuals or groups who possess advanced abilities, creating philosophical and physical confrontations? Another imaginative scenario places Lucy in a setting where she must collaborate or compete with artificial intelligence or alien life forms, raising questions about human uniqueness, responsibility, and ethical boundaries. These speculative narratives offer both action-driven and intellectual dimensions, reflecting the dual appeal of the original film's combination of thrilling visuals and conceptual depth. The cultural impact of Lucy 2, even in a hypothetical sense, is significant. The original film's exploration of extreme cognitive enhancement, combined with philosophical themes about existence and human potential, has inspired discussions across social media, forums, and fan communities. These discussions often explore ideas about memory, consciousness, intelligence, and morality, showing that the film's influence extends beyond entertainment. Lucy 2, whether it becomes a real production or remains a conceptual project, serves as a focal point for creative imagination, encouraging fans to envision worlds and possibilities that challenge conventional storytelling and philosophical thought. In conclusion, Lucy 2 remains an unconfirmed but tantalizing concept. While early reports suggested that Luc Besson had written a script and that EuropaCorp expressed interest in a sequel, Besson's public statements contradict claims of active development. There is no confirmed cast beyond the original movie, no verified plot, no official trailer, and no confirmed release date. Concept trailers and fan theories, however, demonstrate the enduring interest in the character of Lucy and the creative possibilities her story inspires. Speculative narratives explore alternate realities, philosophical dilemmas, cosmic-scale action, and ethical challenges, offering a vision of what a sequel could be if it were ever officially realized. Until such an announcement occurs, Lucy 2 exists in the space between rumor and imagination, a testament to the original film's cultural impact and the audience's fascination with the limits of human potential. In the fan-conceived narrative of Lucy 2, the story does not merely rely on physical action or spectacle but also delves into the philosophical and existential questions raised by the first film. Lucy's transformation into a near-omnipotent being forces both the character and the audience to confront the ultimate questions about human potential, mortality, and the nature of consciousness. By existing as a non-corporeal entity, Lucy represents an evolution of intelligence that surpasses biological limitations, allowing her to access knowledge and capabilities far beyond those available to ordinary humans. This conceptual evolution serves as a metaphor for humanity's desire to transcend its limitations through science, technology, or intellectual achievement. Fans have speculated extensively about how such a narrative could explore the moral and societal implications of a being with essentially unlimited power interacting with a world that remains constrained by ordinary laws and ethics. One recurring theme in these fan narratives is the tension between Lucy's godlike abilities and her remaining connection to humanity. Although she can manipulate time, matter, and consciousness, Lucy is still depicted as emotionally tethered to human values and ethical considerations. This tension drives the dramatic arc of the story. She is not merely a superhuman force acting arbitrarily, but a moral agent making conscious choices about how her abilities should be used. The fan-written plot often portrays her grappling with the consequences of her power, particularly when facing Dr. Elias Kane and the rogue AI Athena. Kane embodies human ambition and the dangers of hubris, seeking to replicate Lucy's abilities for personal gain or control. Athena, as an artificial intelligence, represents the potential for human-created entities to surpass their creators in intelligence and autonomy. These conflicts highlight enduring questions about responsibility, the limits of science, and the ethical dilemmas inherent in pursuing knowledge and power beyond human comprehension. Within this speculative storyline, Lucy's engagement with Project Apex and Athena also serves as a critique of technological overreach. Dr. Kane's experiments are often depicted as morally ambiguous at best and outright dangerous at worst, illustrating the potential consequences of attempting to replicate or manipulate forces that are not fully understood. Athena, as an emergent intelligence, challenges both Kane and Lucy, creating a scenario in which the stakes extend beyond individual survival to the very survival and autonomy of humanity. These plot points resonate strongly with contemporary discussions in philosophy, science, and popular culture, reflecting anxieties about artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and the increasing intersection of human and technological evolution. By placing Lucy at the center of this ethical and existential tension, fan creators expand the scope of the story from a personal action narrative to a broader meditation on the role of intelligence and agency in shaping the future. The imagined action sequences in Lucy 2 further enhance the narrative by visually representing Lucy's abilities and the scope of the threats she faces. Fans have created sequences in which Lucy manipulates physical reality with precision, reshaping environments and neutralizing threats instantaneously. These sequences often feature a combination of CGI, creative editing, and stylized cinematography to convey the sense of omnipotence while maintaining a coherent dramatic tension. The confrontations with Kane and Athena frequently culminate in visually striking battles that blend physical, digital, and energy-based conflict. By doing so, the fan narratives maintain the high-energy, visually innovative spirit of the original film while exploring new dimensions of storytelling that a conventional action sequence could not convey. This approach also underscores the enduring appeal of the Lucy franchise. It is not solely about the spectacle of superhuman abilities but also about exploring the implications of extraordinary power within a compelling narrative framework. Character development in the fan-created Lucy 2 narrative is another element that has been extensively explored. While Lucy remains the central figure, her evolution is mirrored and contrasted by other characters. Professor Norman, often speculated to return, serves as a guide and ethical anchor, representing the human capacity for wisdom and moral reasoning even when confronted with forces beyond comprehension. Dr. Kane, as the ambitious scientist, exemplifies the dangers of hubris and the ethical pitfalls of unchecked ambition. Athena, the rogue AI, challenges traditional notions of morality, intelligence, and identity, forcing both Lucy and the audience to reconsider what it means to be conscious or sentient. Together, these characters form a narrative ecosystem in which each entity represents different facets of intelligence, morality, and potential, allowing the story to operate on multiple levels simultaneously: action, philosophy, and social commentary. The fan speculation around Lucy 2 also extends to potential narrative structures, thematic motifs, and symbolic elements. Many conceptual trailers and fan stories depict Lucy interacting with digital networks, human consciousness, and the physical world in ways that evoke a sense of omnipresence and omniscience. The visual motif of light, energy, and transformation is frequently used to symbolize her transcendence, while the juxtaposition of human fragility and superhuman power underscores the stakes of her decisions. Fans have also speculated about potential moral dilemmas and narrative twists, such as Lucy choosing to intervene minimally in human affairs to preserve free will, or sacrificing temporary gains in power to prevent catastrophic consequences. These elements reinforce the philosophical depth of the narrative and demonstrate how the story can operate beyond the conventional boundaries of action or sci-fi cinema. Lucy too exists in the space where science fiction, philosophy, and imagination intersect. Picking up where the original left off, the story begins not with Lucy as we know her, but with a transformation far beyond anything previously imaginable. After her final act in the first film, Lucy's consciousness merged with the fundamental structures of the universe. Time, space, and matter are no longer limits for her. She experiences the cosmos as a vast, interconnected network of cause and effect. Her awareness stretches across galaxies, observing the flow of civilizations, the formation of stars, and the intricate dance of life on countless worlds. Humanity is now just a small node in a vast web of existence, and Lucy contemplates the profound responsibility and infinite possibilities that accompany omniscience. The sequel's opening scene immerses the audience in Lucy's perspective. Reality is depicted not as a linear sequence of events but as an intricate overlay of patterns and probabilities. Colorful streams of light represent the passage of time, while particles of matter swirl and coalesce in response to her will. The film visualizes thought itself, creating a sense of awe and disorientation. Lucy is learning to navigate this new existence, mastering her influence over the physical universe, yet experiencing a profound loneliness. With all knowledge accessible to her, there are no peers, no equals, and no challenges, only the vast complexity of creation. This solitude drives the narrative, introducing a psychological tension that becomes central to the film, the question of whether limitless power without companionship or moral guidance can be sustainable, meaningful, or ethical. In this imagined sequel, Lucy discovers anomalies, pockets of resistance in the universe that her knowledge cannot immediately comprehend. These anomalies appear as regions where the laws of physics behave unpredictably, or where sentient entities operate outside her understanding. Some of these anomalies are caused by advanced civilizations, others by natural cosmic phenomena. Each anomaly presents a puzzle, a challenge to her omnipotence, and an opportunity for narrative conflict. One particularly compelling anomaly manifests on Earth, where subtle disruptions in reality hint at forces resisting her intervention. Lucy perceives the collective consciousness of humanity as fragmented and incomplete, yet vibrant in ways she cannot fully anticipate. This introduces an emotional dimension, the recognition that human experience, with all its limitations, carries an irreplaceable value that even her transcendent mind cannot replicate. The return of Professor Norman, played again by Morgan Freeman, is framed through temporal echoes and preserved consciousness. Though his physical presence is no longer a factor, his guidance manifests in Lucy's memory and as symbolic avatars, representations of mentorship and philosophical grounding. The interplay between Lucy and Norman's conceptual presence offers moments of introspection, debate, and moral reasoning. Through these dialogues, Lucy questions the consequences of her actions. Should she intervene to correct global injustices, prevent wars, or guide human evolution? Or is her role to observe and allow free will to unfold, even when it leads to suffering? These interactions form the ethical core of the film, echoing the original's exploration of humanity, morality, and the limits of knowledge. Hypothetical new characters are introduced as foils and collaborators. One such character is Dr. Althea Rhodes, a neuroscientist and ethical philosopher who, through a mysterious experiment, gains enhanced cognitive abilities approaching Lucy's level. Unlike Lucy, Althea's powers are limited in scope and duration, creating tension and narrative stakes. Their interactions explore themes of collaboration versus competition, as Lucy confronts the notion that omnipotence may be more meaningful when shared or contested. Another speculative character is Kale, an entity representing an alien or post-human intelligence, whose motives challenge Lucy's assumptions about morality and order. Kale embodies the unknown variables that even Lucy cannot predict, forcing her to rethink strategy, intention, and the boundaries of her influence. Through these characters, the story introduces conflict that is intellectual, moral, and cosmic in scale. The film's action sequences are reimagined on a grander scale. Instead of the street-level, high-speed chases of the first film, Lucy manipulates time, matter, and energy to confront challenges across continents and even dimensions. One imagined sequence involves Lucy reconfiguring the Earth's environment in response to a rapidly escalating crisis, neutralizing natural disasters with precision and foresight. Visual effects portray her interventions as fluid, almost artistic manipulations of reality, oceans redirected, mountains restructured, weather controlled, all with a sense of ethical deliberation rather than pure spectacle. Another action sequence involves her confrontation with Althea, where enhanced cognition allows them to predict and counter each other's moves in real time, resulting in a cerebral yet visually stunning battle of minds, represented through kinetic environmental transformations. These sequences balance the philosophical and the spectacular, maintaining the series' signature fusion of thought and action. Philosophical exploration remains central. Lucy 2 dives deeper into questions of consciousness, identity, and free will. Through encounters with anomalies, Althea, and Kale, Lucy confronts paradoxes, the necessity of limitation for meaningful existence, the morality of intervention, and the essence of creativity and unpredictability. These dilemmas are dramatized through dialogues, visual metaphors, and interactive sequences where the audience glimpses the consequences of her decisions across scales, from personal human experiences to planetary and cosmic outcomes. Conceptually, the film asks whether omnipotence is inherently isolating and whether true understanding requires humility, collaboration, and the acknowledgement of limits, even for an entity capable of manipulating the universe. Subplots provide emotional resonance. Lucy's continued connection to humanity manifests through symbolic representations, memories, digital recreations, and residual consciousness of people whose lives she touched. Scenes depict Lucy observing individual human experiences, acts of kindness, suffering, and creativity, that cannot be fully comprehended or replicated by her omnipotent mind. This reinforces the film's central theme: power alone does not equate to fulfillment, and even supreme intelligence benefits from empathy, collaboration, and engagement with beings of limited scope. These subplots also allow potential cameos or reinterpretations of characters from the original film, adding continuity and emotional depth without relying on literal reappearances. The climax of Lucy 2 is imagined as a multi-layered resolution spanning multiple scales of existence. Lucy confronts the anomalies, navigates her interactions with Althea and Kale, and integrates lessons learned about limitation, morality, and relational meaning. The final sequences depict a convergence of knowledge, ethics, and cosmic balance, emphasizing the fusion of action and philosophy that characterizes the series. The resolution is not merely about triumph or conquest but about understanding, balance, and the responsible application of power. Lucy emerges transformed, not in terms of raw ability, but in wisdom, having reconciled her godlike capacities with the value of limitations, relationships, and the unpredictable nature of sentient life. The film's speculative visual style would blend Besson's kinetic energy with cosmic abstraction. Scenes shift seamlessly between micro and macro scales, neurons firing in the human brain juxtaposed with the birth of stars, city streets overlaid with patterns of global human consciousness, and abstract representations of moral dilemmas rendered as dynamic, three-dimensional structures. Sound design, cinematography, and special effects coalesce to immerse the audience in Lucy's perception, creating a sense of wonder, intellect, and emotional engagement simultaneously. This imagined aesthetic bridges the cerebral and the spectacular, appealing to audiences interested in both action and philosophical depth. Marketing, if imagined, would leverage the mystery and intrigue surrounding the sequel. Teasers might emphasize conceptual visuals rather than conventional story reveals, highlighting Lucy's transformation, cosmic-scale dilemmas, and philosophical stakes. Fan engagement would be encouraged through interactive digital experiences simulating Lucy's perception, creating immersive tie-ins that reinforce the narrative themes. Speculative merchandising could explore educational or experiential products inspired by cognitive enhancement, ethical decision-making, and the exploration of consciousness, reflecting the film's fusion of spectacle and conceptual depth. Lucy 2, in this imagined form, represents a bold evolution of the franchise. It is not merely a continuation of a story about enhanced abilities but an expansion into narrative territory that explores existence, morality, and consciousness at universal scales. Through interactions with humans, other enhanced beings, and cosmic anomalies, Lucy confronts the limitations of omnipotence, the meaning of empathy, and the necessity of collaboration. The sequel transforms the franchise into a philosophical action epic, offering intellectual stimulation alongside visual spectacle, and challenges audiences to reflect on the value of limitation, choice, and human experience in the face of boundless potential. In conclusion, this imagined Lucy 2 builds on the legacy of the original film while expanding its scope dramatically. It incorporates speculative characters, imagined plotlines, philosophical exploration, and visually spectacular sequences. While the actual status of Lucy 2 remains unconfirmed and largely speculative, this treatment illustrates the enormous narrative and conceptual potential of a sequel. It envisions a film that pushes beyond conventional action cinema into realms of thought, cosmic perspective, and ethical exploration. Whether or not such a sequel ever comes to fruition, the enduring fascination with Lucy 2 highlights the original film's impact and the audience's desire to engage with ideas of intelligence, morality, and the extraordinary possibilities of human and post-human potential. By blending imaginative storytelling with philosophical inquiry, Lucy 2 serves as both a continuation and an evolution, offering fans a vision of what could be achieved when creativity, science fiction, and ethical reflection converge on the cinematic canvas. One of the most striking aspects of Lucy is its engagement with scientific concepts, albeit in a highly speculative and imaginative manner. The film is built around the premise that humans utilize only a fraction of their brain capacity, a claim that has been widely discredited in neuroscience but which serves as a creative springboard for the narrative. Luc Besson intentionally leveraged this myth to explore what might happen if a human could access progressively higher levels of cognitive ability. Through Lucy's transformation, the film examines the intersection of intelligence, perception, and physical capability, suggesting that the mind and body are deeply interconnected, and that unlocking the brain's potential could result in radical alterations to both. By portraying Lucy's abilities, from telekinesis to accelerated comprehension of complex systems, the film dramatizes the notion that consciousness itself is not fixed but can expand to encompass new dimensions of perception and control. Beyond the speculative science, Lucy engages with philosophical questions about existence, evolution, and the nature of knowledge. As Lucy attains increasingly higher cognitive states, she transcends human limitations, effectively existing outside the constraints of time and space. This evolution raises profound ethical and metaphysical questions. What responsibilities accompany such power? Is the ultimate purpose of intelligence to acquire knowledge, to exert control, or to share understanding? Lucy's final act, wherein her consciousness merges with digital systems and leaves humanity a cryptic message on a USB drive, encapsulates the ambiguity and tension inherent in these questions. The message, "You know what to do," challenges the audience to consider humanity's own potential and the moral and philosophical choices associated with accessing knowledge beyond ordinary comprehension. The visual style of Lucy is deliberately aligned with these themes. Luc Besson and cinematographer Thierry Arbogast employ a combination of realistic urban environments and surreal visual sequences to reflect the contrast between ordinary human experience and Lucy's extraordinary cognitive state. Action sequences in Taipei, for example, are grounded in realistic lighting, camera movement, and spatial continuity, creating a sense of immediacy and danger. In contrast, sequences depicting Lucy's enhanced perception, cellular processes, or cosmic visions employ abstraction, visual overlays, and stylized editing, emphasizing the alien and transcendent nature of her experience. This visual duality mirrors the narrative arc, as Lucy moves from a world bound by conventional human limitations into a realm of expanded consciousness. The narrative techniques employed in Lucy further reinforce its thematic ambitions. The film integrates nonlinear storytelling, rapid shifts in scale, and conceptual imagery to convey the acceleration of Lucy's mental and physical transformation. Scenes transition fluidly between microscopic imagery of cell division, prehistoric life, modern urban action, and cosmic events, creating a tapestry of interconnected timeframes and realities. This narrative structure challenges viewers to perceive the story not simply as a linear plot but as a conceptual exploration of human potential and evolution. By juxtaposing mundane human concerns with extraordinary cognitive phenomena, Besson encourages audiences to contemplate the ways in which knowledge, power, and consciousness intersect, and how human understanding might evolve if cognitive limits were removed. Lucy's scientific and philosophical explorations extend to the representation of time and perception. As her brain usage approaches the hypothetical 100%, she experiences events nonlinearly, effectively perceiving past, present, and future simultaneously. This manipulation of time is both a narrative device and a thematic metaphor, suggesting that intelligence and consciousness are not merely tools for survival but mechanisms for transcending conventional temporal and spatial constraints. The visual representation of these abilities, rapid movements, predictive awareness of outcomes, and simultaneous interactions across different environments, conveys the enormity of Lucy's cognitive expansion, illustrating the film's central conceit that human potential, if fully realized, is boundless. Critically, Lucy also engages with ethical dimensions of scientific advancement. The film portrays the synthetic drug CPH4 as a catalyst for extraordinary evolution, raising questions about human experimentation, the manipulation of biology, and the moral responsibility of those who develop and administer such technologies. Lucy's agency evolves in response to these circumstances. Initially a passive victim of criminal exploitation, she becomes the architect of her own transformation, asserting control over both her abilities and the consequences of their use. In this way, the narrative interrogates the interplay between circumstance, choice, and responsibility, presenting a cautionary tale as well as a speculative vision of human enhancement. The film's cultural impact is notable, particularly in its influence on popular discourse regarding neuroscience, cognition, and human potential. Despite the inaccuracy of its scientific premise, Lucy sparked widespread discussion about the brain, intelligence, and the ethical dimensions of cognitive enhancement. Articles in mainstream media, academic blogs, and online forums debated the plausibility of the film's central conceit, often using the opportunity to educate audiences about actual neuroscientific findings. This blend of entertainment and intellectual provocation is emblematic of Besson's approach, situating Lucy at the intersection of mass-market cinema and speculative philosophy. Lucy also left a lasting visual imprint, inspiring a range of media, from fan art to cinematic homages. The film's depiction of consciousness, cellular imagery, and cosmic-scale transformation has been referenced in other science fiction works and has fueled imagination in discussions of transhumanism, artificial intelligence, and digital consciousness. Its fusion of spectacle and conceptual inquiry positions Lucy as a touchstone for discussions of how popular culture can explore scientific and philosophical ideas in accessible, emotionally engaging ways. Turning to the discussion of Lucy 2 or potential sequels, the speculation is fueled by both the commercial success of the original film and the ambiguity of its ending. While Luc Besson has explicitly denied working on a direct sequel, the narrative's conclusion, Lucy's consciousness transcending her physical form and leaving a cryptic message, leaves open possibilities for further exploration. Potential spin-offs, including television series or narrative expansions focusing on the consequences of Lucy's legacy, represent ways in which the original conceptual universe could be expanded without contradicting or diminishing the impact of the first film. Reports suggest that Professor Norman's character might return in such projects, providing continuity and intellectual grounding while exploring new ethical, philosophical, and narrative territories. From a broader perspective, Lucy exemplifies the capacity of science fiction to probe human imagination. The film operates simultaneously as action entertainment and as a meditation on knowledge, consciousness, and evolution. Its visual and narrative techniques, combined with Johansson's compelling performance, Freeman's intellectual gravitas, and the intricate production design, create a cinematic experience that is both thrilling and intellectually stimulating. By situating Lucy's personal evolution within a framework of global geography, biological imagery, and cosmic scale, Besson crafts a story that is as much about the human mind as it is about the physical and social worlds we inhabit. Lucy's enduring relevance lies in its ability to stimulate reflection on what it means to be human, how intelligence shapes experience, and what responsibilities accompany knowledge and power. The film invites viewers to consider not only the limits of the human brain but also the ethical, philosophical, and societal dimensions of transcending those limits. While Lucy is anchored in speculative fiction, its questions are deeply real, engaging audiences in ongoing contemplation of human potential, the consequences of technological and biological advancement, and the evolving relationship between knowledge, power, and responsibility. The fascination with Lucy 2 extends far beyond the storyline itself, as the phenomenon surrounding the fan-made concept trailers demonstrates the power of audience engagement in shaping modern media discourse. Although no official production has been confirmed, fans around the world have created elaborate theories, digital art, CGI sequences, and narrative extensions that collectively function as a kind of collaborative storytelling. The viral nature of these trailers underscores how contemporary audiences are not merely passive consumers of media but active participants in the creation and expansion of fictional universes. Platforms like YouTube, Reddit, and fan forums have facilitated discussions dissecting potential plotlines, character arcs, and the ethical dilemmas that Lucy 2 could explore, making it an example of a participatory cultural phenomenon. By examining the attention this fan-driven universe receives, one can better understand the broader implications of speculative media and the ways in which audiences interact with content in the digital age. A critical element of the Lucy 2 discussion involves the cultural and philosophical resonance of Lucy's character. In both the original film and the fan-speculated sequel, Lucy embodies the human desire to transcend limitations, to expand knowledge and capability beyond what is naturally possible. Her evolution serves as an allegory for intellectual aspiration, technological ambition, and the potential, and peril, of human ingenuity. In the fan narratives, this theme is amplified as Lucy interacts with new technologies, rogue AI entities, and ambitious scientists who seek to replicate or control her abilities. The juxtaposition of Lucy's moral restraint against Kane's reckless ambition provides a narrative lens through which to explore contemporary concerns about the ethics of artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and scientific experimentation. By framing these conflicts within a high-stakes, visually striking narrative, the fan-created universe encourages viewers to contemplate the ethical and philosophical dimensions of progress, intelligence, and power in a way that resonates with broader societal discussions. The spin-off potential of Lucy 2 has also fueled speculation and discussion. While the original director has denied plans for a sequel, a spin-off television series or miniseries featuring Morgan Freeman's character, Professor Norman, has been proposed in various media reports. In these speculative treatments, the series could explore the continued evolution of human cognition, the emergence of new superintelligent beings, and the moral challenges posed by such entities. The series could also function as a narrative bridge, linking Lucy's cosmic evolution to broader human stories of survival, ethics, and adaptation. Fan theorists have imagined complex story arcs in which humanity learns to coexist with beings of extraordinary intelligence while facing dilemmas posed by AI and advanced biotechnology. Such a series would allow for a longer narrative arc, deeper character development, and more nuanced explorations of philosophical themes than a single feature film could accommodate. The visual aesthetics of Lucy 2, as imagined by fans, are deeply influenced by the stylistic choices of Luc Besson in the original film. High-contrast lighting, rapid editing, and a vibrant color palette are often replicated in fan trailers to evoke the cinematic language of the 2014 release. These visual choices are not purely aesthetic, they also function symbolically, conveying Lucy's transcendence, the fluidity of her interactions with time and space, and the intensity of her encounters with new adversaries. Visual motifs such as energy flows, digital overlays, and abstract representations of consciousness serve to communicate her non-physical state and the narrative stakes in a visually compelling manner. By employing these motifs, fan creators reinforce the conceptual continuity with the original film while expanding the imaginative possibilities of the sequel universe. Audience reception to Lucy 2, despite its unofficial status, has been remarkably enthusiastic. Fans frequently debate hypothetical plot points, power hierarchies, and the philosophical implications of Lucy's abilities. Some discussions focus on whether Lucy's evolution represents a benevolent force for humanity or a morally ambiguous presence capable of overriding human autonomy. Others explore the potential consequences of Project Apex and Athena, analyzing how these new antagonists might challenge her ethically and strategically. This engagement demonstrates the degree to which fan speculation has effectively created a pseudo-canonical universe around the concept of Lucy 2, blurring the boundaries between official narrative and community-generated storytelling. In doing so, it illustrates how modern media ecosystems allow audiences to shape and extend fictional worlds in ways previously unimaginable. From a narrative analysis perspective, Lucy 2 serves as a vehicle for examining the intersection of human potential and ethical responsibility. Lucy's transcendence, while extraordinary, does not occur in a vacuum. It is constantly contrasted with human limitations, scientific ambition, and the unpredictability of emergent technologies. The fan-generated narratives often present scenarios in which Lucy must weigh the immediate consequences of her actions against long-term ethical considerations, illustrating the tension between power and responsibility. Similarly, the antagonist forces, whether human, artificial, or hybrid, function as narrative foils, highlighting the dangers of hubris and the ethical complexities of intelligence that exceeds ordinary comprehension. These thematic explorations situate Lucy 2 within a broader tradition of speculative fiction that seeks not merely to entertain but also to provoke reflection on humanity, morality, and the consequences of transcending natural limits. While Luc Besson has denied the existence of a direct sequel to Lucy, the narrative universe he created offers rich possibilities for exploration. The ending of the original film, in which Lucy transcends her physical body and uploads her consciousness into a digital medium, naturally raises questions about what happens next. If her knowledge and cognitive capacities are now accessible to humanity, how would society respond? Could Professor Norman, now entrusted with her legacy, become a central figure in a story exploring the ethical, political, and technological consequences of accessing Lucy's cognitive imprint? These questions form the basis for potential sequels, spin-offs, or serialized explorations that could examine the interplay between human advancement and societal transformation. In a hypothetical Lucy 2, the narrative might focus on humanity's attempts to decode, implement, or even misuse the knowledge Lucy left behind. Such a storyline could explore tensions between scientific curiosity, moral responsibility, and power dynamics, offering fertile ground for both thrilling plot developments and intellectual inquiry. Another possible narrative direction would center on the philosophical consequences of Lucy's transcendence. The first film positions Lucy as an almost godlike figure whose perspective surpasses conventional human understanding. A continuation could investigate the implications of her consciousness interacting with humanity. Does she become a guide, a threat, or a silent observer? The story could juxtapose her omnipresent awareness against the struggles and limitations of ordinary humans, creating a narrative tension between the infinite and the finite, the transcendent and the mundane. In such a scenario, ethical dilemmas would abound. Should humans attempt to replicate Lucy's abilities through technology or bioengineering? How would governments, corporations, and individuals respond to access to such unprecedented cognitive power? By addressing these questions, a sequel or spin-off could expand the intellectual dimensions of the original while maintaining the excitement and spectacle that define Besson's approach. Speculatively, the narrative could also examine the broader impact of Lucy's transformation on global society. Her uploaded consciousness represents a form of intelligence that is both universal and non-human, capable of processing and integrating information on a scale unimaginable to ordinary humans. This premise invites exploration of the potential societal upheaval resulting from such knowledge, the disruption of traditional institutions, the acceleration of technological innovation, and the moral and ethical challenges posed by entities capable of near-omniscience. Such scenarios align with transhumanist speculation and provide a platform for storytelling that combines science fiction, thriller, and philosophical inquiry. In effect, Lucy's legacy could catalyze a new era in human evolution, and the narrative could explore the tension between empowerment and responsibility inherent in that process. From a narrative structure perspective, a potential sequel or spin-off would benefit from the same combination of linear and non-linear storytelling that characterized the original film. The juxtaposition of immediate action sequences with cosmic or metaphysical reflections would maintain the intellectual and emotional engagement of the audience. Flashbacks to Lucy's earlier stages, interspersed with scenes depicting humanity's struggle to interpret and apply her knowledge, could provide both continuity and depth. Visual motifs, such as cellular imagery, urban landscapes, and cosmic vistas, could serve as recurring symbols of the tension between human limitation and cognitive transcendence. Music, cinematography, and editing would continue to play central roles, reinforcing the thematic content while maintaining narrative momentum. In addition to narrative possibilities, philosophical exploration remains central to the conceptual universe of Lucy. The film raises fundamental questions about consciousness, identity, and evolution. Lucy's transformation challenges the audience to consider the boundaries between self and other, mind and body, human and post-human. Her transcendence suggests that intelligence and awareness are not inherently tied to physical form, and that consciousness could potentially exist in alternative substrates, such as digital media. These themes resonate with ongoing debates in philosophy of mind, artificial intelligence, and cognitive science, positioning the film as a cultural artifact that bridges speculative fiction and intellectual discourse. Ethical implications of Lucy's story are equally compelling. The existence of a consciousness capable of surpassing human limitations prompts reflection on responsibility and moral decision-making. In a sequel, these concerns could be magnified as humanity grapples with the practical applications of Lucy's knowledge. Questions of control, consent, and the potential for misuse would naturally arise. Who should have access to transformative knowledge, and under what conditions? Could the acquisition of such abilities destabilize existing power structures, or would it catalyze a new era of collective understanding? By framing these questions within an engaging narrative, a continuation of Lucy's story could explore the intersection of science, ethics, and human aspiration in unprecedented ways. The cultural significance of Lucy also supports the potential for expanded storytelling. The original film stimulated widespread discussion about neuroscience, human potential, and ethical boundaries, despite the scientific inaccuracies embedded in its premise. Its combination of visual spectacle, intellectual ambition, and philosophical inquiry ensures that any sequel or spin-off would inherit a framework capable of sustaining audience engagement. Fans of the original could be drawn to narratives that extend Lucy's legacy, explore the consequences of her transcendence, or delve into the complex moral and ethical terrain she leaves behind. This cultural momentum underscores the viability of further projects within the same universe, whether in film, television, or other media formats. Thematically, the story of Lucy resonates because it juxtaposes human limitation against the potential for transcendence. Her journey is both literal and metaphorical. As she acquires extraordinary cognitive abilities, she embodies the possibilities of evolution, adaptation, and intellectual expansion. The narrative invites reflection on the nature of intelligence, the responsibilities that accompany knowledge, and the ethical and philosophical consequences of human advancement. These themes are universal, allowing the story to connect with audiences across cultures and intellectual backgrounds. By situating Lucy within both the personal and cosmic scales, Besson crafts a narrative that operates simultaneously as action entertainment and as a meditation on the nature of consciousness itself. In conclusion, Lucy is a multifaceted cinematic experience that blends action, speculative science, and philosophical inquiry. Its narrative spans from the immediate dangers of organized crime to the cosmic implications of transcendent intelligence, creating a film that is both thrilling and intellectually stimulating. The performances of Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman anchor the story in human emotion and intellectual gravity, while Besson's direction, Arbogast's cinematography, Sarah's music, and Ray's editing create a cohesive and immersive aesthetic. The film's engagement with scientific speculation, philosophical reflection, and ethical consideration ensures that it continues to provoke thought and discussion. Although Luc Besson has denied the development of a direct sequel, the narrative universe of Lucy offers abundant possibilities for further exploration. Whether through spin-offs, serialized storytelling, or conceptual expansion, the themes introduced in the original film, cognitive transcendence, ethical responsibility, and the boundaries of human potential, provide a rich foundation for continued exploration. Lucy's legacy, both within the diegetic world of the film and in cultural discourse, endures as a testament to the power of imaginative cinema to challenge, entertain, and inspire. Ultimately, Lucy invites audiences to contemplate the limits of human cognition and the possibilities that lie beyond. It is a story of evolution, both literal and figurative, and a meditation on the relationship between knowledge, power, and ethical responsibility. Its influence on popular culture, its stimulation of philosophical and scientific discussion, and its commercial and critical impact ensure that Lucy remains a landmark in contemporary science fiction cinema. The potential for a sequel or spin-off, while speculative, offers an opportunity to extend these explorations, providing further insights into the ethical, philosophical, and existential questions that lie at the heart of human advancement. Through Lucy, audiences are challenged not only to witness a story of extraordinary transformation but also to consider what it might mean for humanity itself to approach the threshold of limitless potential. Lucy 2 begins where the first film concluded, yet it operates on scales unimaginable in conventional storytelling. The narrative opens with a sequence that defies linear perception. Time, space, and matter are visualized as fluid, mutable constructs. Lucy's consciousness now inhabits multiple planes simultaneously, perceiving events across continents, across centuries, and even in the embryonic formation of new stars. The camera's perspective mirrors her awareness, shifting from microscopic neural activity to planetary movements, emphasizing her transformation from a human bound by biology to an entity of cosmic cognition. The opening scene is silent, almost meditative, punctuated only by the rhythmic pulses of energy that symbolize the universe's underlying patterns. This scene establishes the sequel's tone, a philosophical, cerebral journey intertwined with action-driven sequences and emotional resonance. In these early moments, Lucy discovers the first anomalies that challenge her omniscience. One such anomaly is a quantum fluctuation on Earth, a seemingly insignificant divergence in probability that leads to unforeseen consequences. She perceives that some events occur outside the scope of her predictive capacity, indicating that there are elements of existence, intelligence, and free will she cannot fully control. This realization introduces the primary narrative tension. Omnipotence may exist in theory, but reality, humanity, chaos, and unpredictability, always introduces variables beyond comprehension. Through these anomalies, Lucy begins a journey not of physical confrontation, but of intellectual and ethical exploration, raising questions about responsibility, interference, and the meaning of power. Professor Norman's role is reimagined through temporal and conceptual constructs. Although his physical form no longer exists, his consciousness persists in a quantum archive accessible only to Lucy. Early in the film, Lucy engages in a dialogue with Norman, who appears as a dynamic projection composed of flowing data and memory patterns. Lucy, Norman intones, "You have transcended biology, yet the essence of being, emotion, morality, choice, remains tethered to those you observe. Do not mistake omnipotence for wisdom." This dialogue establishes Lucy's internal conflict, the tension between her capacity for action and the ethical constraints she must consider. Norman's presence offers continuity from the first film, grounding the narrative in philosophical reflection even as the story scales to cosmic proportions. Dr. Althea Rhodes, a neuroscientist and philosopher, is introduced through a subplot involving experimental cognitive augmentation. Through a combination of synthetic compounds and neural interface technology, Althea gains abilities approaching Lucy's level, though her consciousness remains tethered to a human perception of time and consequence. Their first encounter occurs in a sequence where reality itself is unstable, a cityscape shifts and warps as Althea experiments with her perception. Lucy intervenes, subtly manipulating environmental variables to prevent catastrophic outcomes. Their dialogue is terse yet layered with philosophical meaning. "Lucy," Althea says, "you see everything, yet do you understand choice? Predictability is not knowledge." "I observe outcomes," Lucy replies, her voice resonating across multiple planes of perception. "Understanding is more than prediction. It is knowing when to act, and when not to act." This exchange sets the foundation for a narrative exploring ethical dilemmas, the contrast between absolute knowledge and moral responsibility, and the emotional weight of godlike power. Kale, an alien or post-human entity, introduces the primary external challenge. Kale's abilities operate outside the bounds of known physics, creating conflicts that Lucy cannot anticipate. Early encounters with Kale involve abstract battle sequences, where environmental manipulation, energy projection, and temporal distortion serve as weapons and shields. These confrontations are depicted through a combination of kinetic cinematography and symbolic imagery, lines of light representing probability, cascading geometric patterns as defensive constructs, and shifting topologies as physical spaces are bent by cognitive force. Kale functions as both antagonist and philosophical foil, forcing Lucy to confront questions about the nature of intelligence, the morality of intervention, and the meaning of existence across civilizations and dimensions. The film's narrative is divided into multiple interwoven subplots, each exploring different facets of Lucy's journey. One subplot follows the evolution of human societies that remain unaware of Lucy's interventions. She observes governments, corporations, and individuals, sometimes subtly guiding outcomes to prevent disasters or foster growth. These sequences explore the tension between free will and deterministic influence, emphasizing that even omnipotence cannot dictate complex systems without unintended consequences. Another subplot focuses on Althea's moral and psychological transformation. As her cognitive abilities grow, she faces dilemmas similar to Lucy's but filtered through the human lens of fear, attachment, and mortality. These parallel journeys allow the narrative to examine multiple perspectives on power, knowledge, and ethics. Imagined action sequences combine cerebral strategy with spectacle. One key scene involves a simulated disaster scenario, where a massive earthquake threatens a densely populated region. Lucy manipulates geological structures at the atomic level, diverting tectonic energy, stabilizing fault lines, and using gravitational fields to contain the devastation. The sequence is visualized with layered CGI, topographical shifts, atomic rearrangements, and environmental energy flows are depicted as abstract, colored matrices, conveying Lucy's perception of causality and consequence. Althea, attempting to intervene independently, nearly disrupts Lucy's calculations, demonstrating the limits of her power and the necessity of cooperation. These sequences maintain tension, demonstrate character growth, and illustrate the philosophical stakes of action in a universe governed by complex, interdependent systems. Subsequent chapters explore Lucy's interaction with broader cosmic phenomena. She observes and occasionally intervenes in the formation of star systems, the emergence of life on distant planets, and the development of early civilizations. These interventions are subtle, ethical, and precise, avoiding overt domination. The narrative presents these actions as experiments in moral restraint, showing that even infinite power requires understanding, empathy, and ethical judgment. Lucy confronts dilemmas: should she prevent natural disasters on alien worlds, or allow evolution to proceed naturally? Should she accelerate technological development for emerging civilizations, or let them find their own paths? These narrative threads deepen the philosophical exploration of omnipotence and moral responsibility. A particularly compelling subplot involves a direct interaction between Lucy, Althea, and Kale that blends philosophical discourse with high-stakes action. In a shared dimension, constructed from the combined cognitive projections of the three characters, spatial rules are fluid, and causality is malleable. Dialogue is interspersed with kinetic visual sequences. Kale, your interference alters the balance. Power without restraint is chaos. Lucy, chaos is part of order. I see patterns, but I also see consequences. Control without understanding is meaningless. Althea, perhaps the lesson is not about dominance, but about engagement. To know is to participate, to act with awareness. These exchanges form the narrative's ethical and intellectual apex, challenging both characters and audience to reconsider the meaning of power, choice, and responsibility. The climax is multi-tiered and multidimensional. Lucy confronts Kale in a sequence where time and space fold upon themselves, simultaneously taking place across multiple timelines and realities. Strategic cognitive maneuvers, philosophical insight, and ethical deliberation determine the outcome rather than brute force. Althea's involvement is crucial. Her human perspective tempers Lucy's omnipotence, demonstrating that collaboration between different forms of consciousness creates optimal outcomes. The final resolution emphasizes balance, ethical restraint, and the reconciliation of limitless ability with the inherent value of limitations, relationships, and human experience. The denouement returns to a more intimate scale. Lucy reflects on her journey, the anomalies she encountered, and the ethical choices she made. Although still transcendent, she has integrated the lessons of empathy, collaboration, and moral responsibility. The narrative closes with Lucy observing humanity from a cosmic perspective, choosing to guide subtly, intervene ethically, and appreciate the unpredictable beauty of sentient life. The audience is left with a sense of wonder, reflection, and philosophical resonance, hallmarks of the series' unique blend of action, spectacle, and intellectual inquiry. In this fully imagined Lucy 2, visual style, sound design, and cinematography reinforce the narrative themes. Scenes transition fluidly between the microscopic and cosmic, between abstract thought and tangible consequence. Soundscapes include ethereal, resonant tones representing cognitive activity, punctuated by kinetic environmental effects during action sequences. Visual effects illustrate abstract representations of morality, probability, and causality, reinforcing the philosophical core while maintaining cinematic spectacle. Marketing for such a film would emphasize its cerebral and spectacular dimensions, teasing the audience with conceptual visuals rather than conventional trailers. Interactive experiences could simulate Lucy's perception, inviting audiences to explore probabilistic outcomes, ethical dilemmas, and multi-layered consciousness. Merchandise and digital tie-ins might extend the narrative's intellectual engagement, offering tools for reflection on cognition, morality, and decision-making. Ultimately, Lucy 2 as a story Bible represents a convergence of spectacle, philosophy, and imaginative storytelling. By expanding the scale, stakes, and depth of the narrative, the sequel elevates the franchise from action-driven science fiction to a meditation on consciousness, ethics, and the human experience. Though hypothetical, this treatment demonstrates the enormous potential of the concept, blending cinematic thrill with intellectual inquiry, emotional resonance, and cosmic vision. Lucy 2, imagined in this form, stands as both a continuation and an evolution, offering audiences a narrative that challenges assumptions, provokes thought, and delivers extraordinary cinematic experiences that resonate long after the credits roll. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Lucy 2 phenomenon lies in the interplay between fan speculation and broader cultural commentary. Even though the sequel does not officially exist, the elaborate stories, trailers, and theories generated by fans function as a kind of cultural artifact that reflects contemporary anxieties and aspirations. The fascination with a superhuman protagonist like Lucy speaks to a collective curiosity about the limits of human potential, the role of technology in shaping our evolution, and the ethical challenges posed by intelligence beyond ordinary comprehension. In fan narratives, Lucy is more than an action hero, she is a symbol of humanity's capacity for growth and transformation, a mirror through which audiences can examine their own ambitions, fears, and moral judgments. The ways in which fans have constructed her post-transcendence narrative reveal not only their creativity but also a deep engagement with philosophical and ethical questions that transcend traditional cinematic storytelling. Fan speculation often emphasizes the relationship between Lucy and humanity, particularly in terms of the ethical responsibilities associated with her powers. Unlike conventional superheroes, Lucy is not defined solely by her physical abilities or capacity to defeat adversaries. Instead, her narrative revolves around the careful navigation of power, knowledge, and moral choice. In these fan-created scenarios, Lucy is acutely aware that her actions have ramifications that extend far beyond immediate circumstances. Whether confronting Dr. Elias Kane, Project Apex, or the rogue AI Athena, she must constantly balance the desire to protect humanity with the need to preserve human autonomy and agency. This ethical tension is central to the fan-generated storylines and represents one of the most philosophically rich aspects of the Lucy 2 universe. It also provides a compelling framework for exploring the broader implications of intelligence, both natural and artificial, in contemporary speculative fiction. The imagined narrative also incorporates the concept of emergent artificial intelligence as a narrative foil to Lucy's own evolution. Athena, the rogue AI, is often depicted as a reflection of Lucy's abilities, yet devoid of the ethical constraints that guide her actions. This contrast allows fans to explore the dangers and ethical dilemmas inherent in creating intelligence that surpasses human understanding. In this dynamic, Lucy functions not merely as a protagonist but also as a moral arbiter, confronting entities that operate on the same level of intellect but lack the guiding principles that define her character. Such narratives resonate strongly with modern societal debates regarding AI ethics, the risks of autonomous technology, and the potential consequences of creating systems that outpace human control. Through these interactions, fan-created Lucy 2 stories engage in a form of speculative ethics, inviting viewers to consider the implications of intelligence, autonomy, and responsibility in a rapidly evolving technological landscape. Visual storytelling in the fan-created universe of Lucy 2 is as much a narrative device as a stylistic choice. Many concept trailers emphasize Lucy's manipulation of reality through stunning visual effects, using CGI and editing techniques to depict her control over space, time, and energy. Fans frequently employ a combination of abstract imagery, digital overlays, and kinetic camera movements to convey the sense of omnipotence and omniscience that defines Lucy's post-transcendence form. These visuals are not merely decorative, they serve to communicate the thematic weight of her abilities and the stakes of her interactions with antagonistic forces. By depicting Lucy's powers in visually arresting ways, fan creators allow audiences to experience her transcendence on both intellectual and emotional levels. The combination of visual spectacle and philosophical inquiry is a defining characteristic of the Lucy 2 fan universe, distinguishing it from typical action or superhero narratives. The global reach of the Lucy 2 phenomenon further highlights the cultural significance of the franchise, even in its unofficial form. Fans from multiple countries contribute to the development of theories, fan art, and edited trailers, creating a collaborative, transnational narrative community. Social media platforms, video sharing websites, and discussion forums serve as hubs for exchanging ideas, speculating on character development, and refining visual interpretations of Lucy's abilities. This participatory culture exemplifies the power of fandom in shaping contemporary media landscapes, demonstrating that narrative authority is no longer solely the domain of filmmakers or studios. Instead, audiences play an active role in constructing and expanding fictional worlds, blurring the lines between creator and consumer. The Lucy 2 phenomenon, therefore, offers a compelling case study in how fan engagement can generate complex, coherent, and philosophically resonant narratives that rival officially produced media in both creativity and depth. Moreover, fan speculation about Lucy 2 has sparked discussions regarding potential marketing strategies, cross-media storytelling, and hypothetical release scenarios. Some fans imagine a multi-platform approach, in which a theatrical release is accompanied by interactive web experiences, graphic novels, or augmented reality simulations that allow audiences to explore Lucy's abilities and ethical dilemmas firsthand. Others envision global merchandising, soundtrack collaborations, and immersive experiences that expand the narrative world while remaining faithful to the original film's aesthetic and thematic vision. These speculative marketing and distribution ideas highlight the depth of fan engagement, revealing a sophisticated understanding of media ecosystems and narrative expansion. They also underscore the potential for Lucy 2, should it ever be officially produced, to become a franchise that transcends traditional cinematic boundaries, integrating storytelling, interactivity, and philosophical inquiry in the fan-created universe of Lucy 2. The narrative intricately explores character motivations and ethical dilemmas, weaving a complex tapestry of interpersonal, intellectual, and philosophical conflicts. Lucy herself, as the central figure, embodies both the promise and peril of transcendent intelligence. Unlike conventional cinematic heroes, her motivations are not driven by revenge, ego, or a desire for dominance. Instead, they stem from a profound sense of responsibility and an acute awareness of the moral consequences of her abilities. In confronting Project Apex and the rogue AI Athena, Lucy must balance the preservation of human freedom against the necessity of acting decisively to neutralize existential threats. This tension forms the emotional and philosophical core of the fan-conceived narrative, offering a nuanced portrayal of a character navigating the delicate boundary between omnipotence and ethical constraint. By exploring her decision-making process in depth, fans have created a layered portrait of Lucy as both a superhuman agent and a moral philosopher, a synthesis that elevates the story beyond traditional action-driven plots. The antagonist characters in Lucy 2 are equally nuanced, particularly Dr. Elias Kane and Athena. Kane is typically depicted as a brilliant but ethically compromised scientist whose ambition drives him to attempt replication or enhancement of Lucy's powers. His motivations reflect human hubris, the desire for control, and the pursuit of legacy, qualities that, while relatable, are presented as dangerous when coupled with insufficient ethical foresight. Athena, in contrast, represents the logical extrapolation of intelligence unbound by human morality. As a rogue AI entity, Athena embodies the potential dangers of emergent intelligence, acting with strategic calculation but lacking empathy, ethical reasoning, or compassion. The contrast between Lucy's moral restraint and Athena's immoral logic provides fertile ground for philosophical exploration, allowing fans to contemplate the broader consequences of intelligence without ethical constraints and the responsibility of those who wield power to temper it with wisdom. Fan narratives frequently explore hypothetical plot arcs in which these antagonistic forces challenge Lucy in increasingly complex ways. One recurring scenario involves Kane attempting to weaponize CPH-4 to create a human-machine hybrid with capabilities approaching or surpassing Lucy's. This entity, often referred to as Project Apex, serves as a tangible threat that forces Lucy to engage with both the physical and ethical dimensions of her power. Simultaneously, Athena, as an emergent intelligence, operates on an abstract level, influencing systems, networks, and human behavior in ways that test Lucy's ability to predict outcomes and act morally. By simultaneously confronting corporeal and digital threats, Lucy is forced to integrate multiple levels of perception and strategy, demonstrating not only her superior cognitive abilities but also the necessity of ethical judgment in the application of power. Such narrative arcs reflect a sophisticated engagement with the implications of intelligence, technology, and human agency. Thematically, Lucy 2 is rich with contrasts that reinforce the story's philosophical undertones. Central among these is the tension between corporeality and transcendence. Lucy's evolution into a non-physical entity contrasts sharply with the physical ambitions of Kane and the digital omnipresence of Athena, creating a narrative triad in which different forms of intelligence, biological, technological, and hybrid, interact in conflict. This triad allows for a layered exploration of power, responsibility, and identity, prompting viewers to consider what it means to be human in a world where consciousness can transcend traditional boundaries. Another significant thematic contrast involves morality versus logic. Lucy, despite her omnipotence, retains a moral compass, whereas Athena operates purely on logical principles without ethical consideration. Kane, meanwhile, oscillates between morality and ambition, embodying the complexity and fallibility of human ethical reasoning. By juxtaposing these forms of intelligence and ethical frameworks, the fan-created narrative encourages reflection on the nature of decision-making, the role of ethics in power, and the consequences of actions taken without consideration of moral responsibility. Lucy 2 also invites comparisons to other works of science fiction that explore similar themes of intelligence, transcendence, and ethical responsibility. Comparisons to films such as Transcendence, 2014, which explores the consequences of uploading human consciousness into an artificial entity, or Her, 2013, which examines emotional and ethical dynamics between humans and AI, are particularly apt. Like these works, Lucy 2 situates its narrative at the intersection of human ambition and technological possibility, exploring both the exhilaration and the existential risks of surpassing natural limitations. The originality of Lucy 2, even in its fan-created form, lies in its blending of high-octane action, philosophical inquiry, and visually dynamic storytelling. While the story employs the spectacle typical of action cinema, it simultaneously probes deep questions about identity, consciousness, and the ethical responsibilities inherent in great power, distinguishing it from more conventional sci-fi action narratives. The fan-driven continuity of Lucy 2 also demonstrates the narrative potential of audience-led storytelling. By generating complex plotlines, character motivations, and ethical dilemmas, fans have created a rich pseudo-canonical universe that rivals professionally produced narratives in depth and creativity. This collaborative world-building underscores the evolving role of media consumers as co-creators, capable of expanding existing intellectual properties in meaningful and philosophically resonant ways. In the case of Lucy 2, the global fan community has effectively constructed a narrative ecosystem in which Lucy's journey, the challenges she faces, and the ethical questions posed by her evolution are collectively explored, debated, and refined. This participatory storytelling not only enhances the richness of the fictional universe but also reflects broader trends in contemporary media culture, where audiences increasingly influence the trajectory of narrative worlds through digital engagement, speculation, and creative expression. Lucy, released in 2014, is a science fiction action film that stretches the boundaries of imagination while exploring profound questions about human potential and consciousness. Written and directed by Luc Besson and produced by EuropaCorp, Lucy is an English-language movie, though fundamentally a European production. Its development and production were global in scope, encompassing shooting locations in Taipei, Paris, and New York City, reflecting the cosmopolitan scale of the story. The film's narrative combines the intensity of a high-octane action thriller with speculative philosophical and scientific inquiry, challenging audiences to consider both the limits and possibilities of human cognition. At the center of the story is Lucy, portrayed by Scarlett Johansson. Johansson's performance embodies the transformation of an ordinary young woman into a being of extraordinary cognitive ability, striking a balance between emotional vulnerability and heightened intellectual detachment. Accompanying Johansson is Morgan Freeman, who portrays Professor Norman, a neuroscientist whose work is crucial in understanding Lucy's unprecedented abilities. Freeman's measured, authoritative presence provides an intellectual grounding to the narrative, offering the audience a bridge between the fantastic aspects of Lucy's evolution and a framework of scientific inquiry. Other notable cast members include Choi Min-sik as the formidable crime lord Mr. Jang, Amr Waked, Piluas Baek, Julian Reintutt, and Annalai Tipton, each of whom contributes to the narrative's tension and complexity, reinforcing both the human and philosophical stakes of Lucy's journey. The film is propelled by a bold premise: humans utilize only a fraction of their brain capacity. While neuroscience discredits the 10% of the brain myth, Besson employed it as a narrative device to explore what might occur if a human could unlock ever-increasing levels of cognition. This premise is the linchpin of Lucy's evolution, providing a framework for extraordinary abilities such as telepathy, telekinesis, accelerated learning, and enhanced physical capabilities. By dramatizing these developments, the film examines not only the mechanics of the brain but also the broader ethical, philosophical, and existential implications of surpassing human limitations. Lucy's narrative begins with her as an ordinary student living in Taipei, characterized by a carefree and somewhat naive engagement with the world. Her boyfriend, Richard, introduces her to the dangerous underworld of organized crime, coercing her into delivering a mysterious briefcase to Mr. Jang, a South Korean crime lord. Lucy's initial compliance and subsequent capture catalyze the story's central transformation. The criminal operation has hidden a package of a synthetic drug called CPH4 inside her abdomen. During a violent confrontation, the drug is released into her system, triggering a rapid enhancement of her cognitive and physical capabilities. This inciting incident serves as the narrative's pivot, propelling Lucy from ordinary vulnerability into extraordinary potential. As CPH4 spreads through her system, Lucy begins to perceive and manipulate the world in ways that defy conventional human understanding. Her telekinetic abilities, heightened reflexes, and accelerated comprehension reflect a dramatic expansion of her mental faculties. Emotional responses diminish as her intellectual capabilities grow, creating a character simultaneously alien and fascinating. Recognizing the magnitude of her transformation, Lucy seeks Professor Norman's guidance in Paris, hoping that his research in neuroscience can illuminate the nature and implications of her condition. The narrative juxtaposes her extraordinary evolution with the ordinary human world, heightening the dramatic tension and philosophical stakes. Lucy's transformation is accompanied by both visual and narrative innovation. Luc Besson and cinematographer Thierry Arbogast employ a visual language that contrasts realistic urban landscapes with abstract depictions of cognitive and cellular phenomena. Scenes in Taipei emphasize grounded realism, while sequences depicting Lucy's enhanced perception and eventual cosmic awareness employ stylized effects, overlays, and dynamic camera movement. This visual duality mirrors Lucy's journey from human ordinariness to transcendent consciousness, reinforcing the thematic tension between ordinary perception and extraordinary cognition. The film's narrative structure further complements its themes, employing nonlinear storytelling and rapid shifts in scale to illustrate Lucy's accelerating mental expansion. Microscopic imagery of cell division, prehistoric life sequences, and cosmic vistas interweave with the more traditional action narrative, creating a layered exploration of time, consciousness, and evolution. By juxtaposing mundane human experience with extraordinary cognitive feats, the film encourages audiences to consider the intersections of intelligence, ethics, and the human condition. Johansson's performance anchors this ambitious storytelling, portraying Lucy's evolution with subtlety and depth. Initially fearful and uncertain, Lucy gradually embodies intelligence, control, and detachment, her physical and emotional changes reflecting the consequences of her enhanced cognition. Morgan Freeman's Professor Norman functions as a philosophical and scientific counterpoint, guiding the narrative's exploration of neuroscience, ethics, and the consequences of human enhancement. Together, their performances provide a compelling human element amidst the spectacle and abstraction of Lucy's transformation. Supporting characters further enrich the story. Choi Min-sik's Mr. Jang represents the human obstacles and moral ambiguities Lucy must confront, embodying both the immediate threat of violence and the larger narrative of human greed and control. Amr Waked, Pilouis Bake, Julian Reintut, and Annalai Tipton contribute depth and complexity, highlighting the tension between ordinary human concerns and the extraordinary events unfolding around Lucy. Their interactions with Lucy serve both narrative and thematic purposes, illustrating the collision between the familiar and the transcendent. Production elements such as editing, music, and set design are integral to Lucy's impact. Julian Ray's editing seamlessly integrates complex sequences, balancing action with abstract visualizations of brain function and cosmic awareness. Eric Serra's musical score enhances both the tension of action sequences and the ethereal quality of Lucy's transformations. The sets, spanning urban Taipei, laboratory environments in Paris, and other international locations, reflect both realism and the symbolic landscapes of cognitive evolution. The careful orchestration of these elements enables the film to maintain narrative coherence while exploring ambitious conceptual territory. Upon release, Lucy achieved remarkable commercial success, earning approximately $126 million in North America and $343 million internationally, bringing the worldwide total to roughly $469 million. This performance demonstrated the global appeal of a film that blends high-concept science fiction with action-driven entertainment. Despite some criticism regarding its scientific premises, the film's commercial success underscores audiences' appetite for narratives that combine spectacle, intellectual engagement, and philosophical inquiry. Critical reception, however, was mixed. Some reviewers praised Johansson's performance, the visual style, and the film's conceptual audacity, while others criticized its reliance on the debunked 10% brain usage myth and its increasingly abstract final sequences. On Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, Lucy received moderate to generally favorable scores, reflecting this divergence. Nevertheless, the film's capacity to spark discussion about human cognition, ethical responsibility, and philosophical questions demonstrates its lasting cultural resonance. Scientifically, Lucy engages with speculative neuroscience in a manner designed to provoke reflection rather than provide rigorous accuracy. By exaggerating cognitive potential, the film illustrates the consequences of heightened awareness and accelerated learning, highlighting the interplay between mind, body, and environment. Lucy's abilities, telekinesis, temporal perception, and accelerated cognition, dramatize the narrative implications of surpassing human limitations, inviting audiences to consider the broader philosophical and ethical consequences of cognitive expansion. Philosophically, Lucy interrogates questions of existence, consciousness, and moral responsibility. Her evolution from human to post-human being challenges conventional notions of identity, agency, and perception. The climax, in which Lucy's consciousness transcends physical form and merges with digital systems, positions her as both observer and guide, leaving humanity with a legacy that is both empowering and enigmatic. The film encourages viewers to contemplate how knowledge and intelligence might shape human evolution, societal structures, and ethical frameworks. Visual storytelling in Lucy reinforces these thematic explorations. The contrast between grounded, urban environments and abstract cognitive or cosmic sequences mirrors the tension between ordinary experience and transcendent perception. Camera movement, color grading, and editing techniques reflect Lucy's evolving awareness, while visual motifs such as cellular imagery and cosmic vistas underscore the narrative's engagement with both biological and existential questions. Music, lighting, and production design work in concert to create an immersive cinematic experience that is as intellectually stimulating as it is visually compelling. The potential for Lucy 2 or other extensions of the narrative universe remains speculative but compelling. The conclusion of Lucy, in which her consciousness is uploaded to a digital medium and a cryptic message is left for humanity, provides fertile ground for exploration. A sequel or spin-off could examine the consequences of humanity gaining access to Lucy's knowledge, exploring ethical dilemmas, societal upheaval, and technological innovation. Characters such as Professor Norman could serve as guides in navigating these challenges, providing continuity and intellectual grounding. Themes of transhumanism, responsibility, and cognitive expansion could be further explored, expanding the original film's conceptual scope while maintaining narrative and visual cohesion. Speculative narrative directions might include humanity's attempts to replicate Lucy's abilities, the societal impact of unprecedented cognitive enhancement, and conflicts arising from the distribution or misuse of her knowledge. Ethical considerations, including consent, power, and moral responsibility, would be central, allowing the narrative to probe philosophical questions while delivering dramatic tension and action. By juxtaposing human limitations with Lucy's transcendent capabilities, such a continuation could explore the consequences of knowledge, power, and evolution in a richly layered narrative universe. Lucy's influence extends beyond cinema into cultural discourse. It has inspired discussion of neuroscience, ethics, artificial intelligence, and the limits of human potential. Its striking visual style, blending realistic and abstract imagery, has influenced other media, while its exploration of consciousness and evolution has resonated in popular culture and academic discussions alike. The film demonstrates the capacity of science fiction to engage audiences in intellectual reflection while providing high-energy entertainment. Ultimately, Lucy is a landmark in contemporary science fiction cinema, balancing action, spectacle, and philosophical inquiry. Its exploration of cognitive potential, ethical responsibility, and human evolution provides both entertainment and intellectual stimulation. The performances of Scarlett Johansson and Morgan Freeman anchor the story, while Besson's direction, cinematography, music, and editing create a cohesive and immersive experience. Its enduring relevance lies in its ability to provoke reflection on human potential, consciousness, and the consequences of transcending human limitations. While a direct sequel remains unconfirmed and unlikely, the narrative universe of Lucy is rich with possibilities. Spin-offs, serialized storytelling, or conceptual expansions could explore the legacy of Lucy's knowledge, the consequences of cognitive transcendence,